And welcome, folks. Welcome. Yes, I am back. It is me. This is not a best of. Sorry, folks, for missing last week. I hope you enjoyed the best of On Point with Victor last week. I actually had to take a trip to Las Vegas, and it was a good trip. Vegas. They're opening things up. Vegas their governor is kind of a crazy Democrat, just like the rest of them, and he's had Las Vegas in lockdown for quite a while. But I think, the difference with Vegas is you've got the unions that run that state and run that city at least. And they had the casinos open and it was nice. Now they're trying to do really crazy restrictions, which made no sense. They made you wear the mask. Yeah, whatever. Okay, fine. But if you went to the graps table, you had to stand in a box, plexiglass, surrounded by plexiglass, and could stick your hand out like a dinosaur or like Tyrannosaurus Rex with little arms. Stick your arm out there and throw the dice. But if you went over to the roulette table, no plexiglass, and sit with whoever you want. If you wanted to go to the blackjack table, you had to get in a box surrounded by plexiglass. Screaming at the dealer who had plexiglass in front of them, and then had 3 masks on, and then had a plexiglass on their face. You couldn't understand or hear a thing that the dealer was saying, and then you had these people sitting. It was just hilarious to watch, but sad at the same time, because it made no sense. Like I said, you could go over to the roulette wheel, no plexiglass box to get in, and sit with whomever. But if you went to the craps table, you had to get in a plexiglass box and stick your hand out as far as you could and throw the dice. And if you went over to the blackjack table, you had to sit in a box, and the dealer was in a box with 3 masks on and a face shield. I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous. But yet, if you went out on the casino floor with the slot machines, there were people everywhere with no mask, because they figured out soon, if I sit at this slot machine with my friends and I hold a drink in my hand, I don't have to wear a mask. So it's hilarious, folks. If you haven't figured out that the mask wearing now is pure political, then you're kidding yourself. And again, look, you guys know where I stand on this whole mask thing. If you want to wear it, wear it. But you shouldn't force someone else to wear it, and you shouldn't shame someone who's not wearing it. And those of you not wearing it, don't shame the people who wear it if they need. It's like their mobile cry closet or their mobile safe zone. There are a lot of people coming out of their homes right now who maybe they were hiding in their homes before the virus hit. So maybe this mask is a way for them to put on a mobile safe space and then get out. So, don't shame the people that are wearing the mask, But all I'm saying is for you guys out there who are mask crazy, don't get mad at me for not wearing one, especially now that the vaccines are out and so many people are getting vaccinated. If you are vaccinated and you're walking around with a mask on, I don't know what to say to you. I really don't. I don't care what King Fauci says, because I told you guys a year ago that King Fauci, when was the last time he saw a patient? When was the last time he treated someone? When was the last time he actually worked in a hospital? King Fauci has been on the government payroll for decades. King Fauci is a government hack. King Fauci is going to do what he's told to do by the people who pay him. And I don't mean by the real people who pay him, because it's our tax dollars, but his people who actually sign his check is the government, who steals the money from you and I first and then gives it to him. Go look up how much Fauci's raking in. Fauci is not a poor man. Fauci, again, has been on the government payroll for decades and decades and decades, and the man is very, very wealthy. So how did he get wealthy? Off the backs of you and me. So if you're a guy like Fauci and you're on the government payroll and they're dishing you all these avenues to make money from the taxpayer so you can just continue to pad your bank account, what do you think Fauci's going to do? You think he's going to go against his government puppet masters? Of course not. And if you don't believe me, go back, look up, if it's still on YouTube, or maybe do a DuckDuckGo search, but go look up what Fauci was saying in 2020, folks, all the way through February and in the beginning of March of 2020, where Fauci was saying, no, you don't need to wear a mask. If you're a healthy person, there's no reason for you to wear a mask. That's just not something that Americans need to do. That's what he said, folks, and you can look it up. And then the CDC website back then said, yeah, no, healthy people shouldn't wear a mask. No, it's not going to work. A mask isn't going to stop a nanovirus. All of this information was on the CDC until the politicians made it political, and namely the Democrats. And they figured, wait, we can use this to beat Donald Trump. And then they made the CDC. All of a sudden, you started seeing changes. Information started disappearing from the CDC website, and information started changing. And then Fauci, with the protection of the mainstream media, 98% of it, you would have never known that he had just said all the way through February and into March, no, you don't need to wear a mask. And then what happened? Now, fast forward to today, folks, and think about this, folks. We heard all throughout the lockdowns, all we need is a vaccine. Once we get the vaccine, we'll be able to move forward. We'll get back to normal. Well, fast forward to today, folks, we have 3 vaccines. And yes, the J&J vaccine is fine. I'll get to that later, but it's fine. We have 3 vaccines now. And what are the politicians telling you? What is King Fauci telling you? Well, you gotta wear 3 masks. It's okay to wear 2 and 3 masks. Oh, really, Fauci? It wasn't that long ago, because I'm old enough to remember that about 6 months ago, you were one of the ones saying if we get a vaccine, we can get back to normal. First, it was we got to flatten the curve. Then it was if we get a vaccine. Well, we've done all the above. We've flattened the curve. The hospitalizations are going down. Everything is going down, at least in the states that are doing it right. And the vaccine is out there, 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 vaccines. And all the data, folks, if you look it up or talk to any virologist who is not paid by the government, if you're vaccinated, you no longer need the mask and you can go back to normal life. You can. But that's not what you're hearing from the politicians. That's not what you're hearing from the dems. It's not what you're hearing from King Fauci. Fauci's out there telling you, it isn't about liberty with me. So wear your mask if you're vaccinated. And folks, he was asked on the House floor, why are you telling people to wear a mask? You're vaccinated. Why are you wearing a mask? There's no evidence of a vaccinated person going to the hospital because of catching the virus. There's no evidence of a vaccinated person transmitting the virus to somebody and sending them to the hospital. There's no evidence of that. This is real data. This is real science. And you know what Fauci's response was? Well, we're going to get there. We're going to get there. But right now, we can't be sure. Well, you know what, folks? You can't be sure that you're not going to get crushed by a dump truck when you get in your car today. Today, in today's numbers and today's data, you have a bigger chance of dying in your vehicle than you do of COVID-19. But yet, you're still told, put on that mask, shut up, and obey. And while you're at it, put on 2 masks, and maybe 3. So, folks, again, you know where I stand on this. I don't care if you wear a mask or not. I love the idea of individuality. I love liberty and freedom. And I love the fact that we're in a country that we have a document that limits what the government can do to us. And it's about time we get back to that. So what I am saying, and have always said, if you want to wear the mask, wear it. But if you don't, don't. And we're at the point now where if you're vaccinated, you shouldn't be wearing it. So, okay, that's my piece on mask. So we have a lot to get to today, folks. But I want to just look, I didn't even really announce that I was going to be out last week. And I had people emailing me and texting me and asking me, where are you? And I can't thank you enough, listeners. Thank you so much. It humbles me just that you guys noticed that I wasn't here last week. So thanks so much for that. I cannot ever thank you listeners enough, and that's you listeners from everywhere: Georgia, Florida, New York, New Jersey, Utah, South Dakota, North Dakota, California, Arizona. I have listeners everywhere: North Carolina, Tennessee, Alabama. All of you guys. I love you guys. I cannot thank you listeners enough. It's because of you that I'm able to do this. And I love it. This is my passion. And I'm so glad that you guys will listen to what I say, because I can pontificate, let me tell you. Okay, so thanks so much for that. And listen, folks, if you want to find me, some of you have been reaching out, asking how to follow me and stay in touch when I'm not on the air. Folks, it's easy to do. You can go to Instagram and find me at Radio Victor. Radio Victor, just find me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook. It's Victor Armendariz, just spell it right, Armendariz, Victor, Victor, Armendariz. You can find me on Facebook, Armendariz. And follow me. I don't do anything on Twitter. I'm on Twitter, but I don't use it. Twitter is basically, to me, the communist app. So, and I'm going to actually get to something later about that. Look, I say that jokingly. Twitter they're a private company, can do whatever they want, whatever. But I'm choosing not to use them because, when you're trying to silence the opposition, then you don't have an argument, folks. Listen to me. If you believe in a cause and you truly believe in that cause, and you're willing to fight for that cause, and you're willing to try and persuade people to your point of view, if you try and shut down the opposition to you, then you don't have a cause, or you don't know what you're talking about, or, which is usually the case, you know you're wrong, or you know you're lying. Because if you're out there trying to push a certain viewpoint, and you want to shut down the opposition to you, you're not willing to have a debate on the public square, then your argument or your point of view is probably wrong, and you're probably lying, and you probably know it, because you've got goals of being somehow gaining power. So that's just a fact, folks. It's just a fact. If you are confident in your belief and you truly, truly believe on an issue or in an issue, then you're willing to listen to opposition, and you're willing to have a debate on the public square. And right now, today, folks, we have an entire political party known as the Democrats. Many of them call them the Socialist Democrats of America, who are trying to shut down opposition. They don't want the viewpoints. They started this, the whole presidency of Donald Trump, they wanted to shut down his viewpoint. It's ridiculous, folks, but that's what's happening. So, all right, folks, believe it or not, we got to go to our first timeout. So we're going to go to a break here. When I come back, we're going to get into a lot of good stuff with the topic rundown. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, join me, Roger B., every Tuesday at 1400 hours right here on America's Web Radio for the Locked and Loaded Show. We will talk about guns, weapons, ammo, gun accessories, prepping, and so much more. So be sure to join us every Tuesday at 1400 or 2 p.m. for Locked and Loaded on America's Web Radio.
If you live to serve and want to make an even bigger difference, consider joining the U.S. Army. With training in fields like medical care, linguistics, and engineering, an Army career can amplify your efforts with humanitarian opportunities all over the world. Plus, you'll receive competitive pay and incredible benefits, so you'll be taken care of, too. Learn more at GoArmy.com.
Hi, this is Rocky Blair, former four-time Super Bowl champion with the Pittsburgh Steelers and Vietnam veteran. As a board member, I'd like to talk to you about Warriors to Citizen, a nonprofit organization that helps American heroes, soldiers, police, fire, EMT, and their families recover from the psychological harm caused by career-induced stress. Over the last 20 years, broken relationships have been a major causal factor for the highest documented divorce rate and resulting suicides in this population. This program, From Warriors to Citizen, is delivered free to families by professionals, all whom served in uniform and understand the needs to be addressed. I ask for your support, so please go to our website, warriorstocitizen.org, and find out how you can help, either by making a donation or sharing this information with an American hero that you may know. And thank you.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
And welcome back, folks. Welcome back. Okay, we're going to get into some topic rundown today, and there's so much to get to, so I'm just going to go ahead and tell you we're going to have to carry the show over to next week. So make sure you tune in every week. Look, folks, I'm not going to say a whole lot about this, but I'm going to say a little bit. We've got a verdict that's coming out today, or supposed to come out today, if we don't end up with a hung jury. And I don't any media and woke people come call me a racist because I called it a hung jury. Go look it up. That's what it's called. So, look, there's going to be, maybe a verdict today in the, the George Floyd case. What is that guy's name? Chauvin, I think the officer's name. But the officer's on trial. If you've been living in a box or just tuning out the news, which I don't blame you at all. Any of you who tune out the news lately, I don't blame you. Your life will be a lot better if you just turn off the news for a while. But anyway, so this trial's going on for this police officer who had his knee on the throat of George Floyd. And look, folks, this is not a black and white case to me, never has been, and shouldn't have been to anybody else. This was not a case of racism. This was a case of a bad trained officer. I don't care how you feel about the case, but when you put your knee on the throat, and look, I know George Floyd was a bad guy. I'm not going to debate that with anybody. But when you put your knee on the throat of a guy who's handcuffed and not resisting, and you've got fellow officers asking you, hey man, you might need to get your knee off his throat, and then you have paramedics who arrive and they tell you to get your knee off and you still don't, okay, there's a problem there. So this was never a case about colors, nothing to do with racism. This is to do with a badly trained cop, and I think he does need to pay a price for what he did. He didn't listen to his fellow officers. He didn't listen to the paramedics. So there's an issue there. That being said, you have to understand how our system of justice works, ladies and gentlemen, and it's something that the Democrats don't want you to know. What is awful right now is you have people like Maxine Waters. Oh my gosh. I mean, I could do a whole segment on Mrs. I'm going to impeach. I'm going to impeach. That's all. For 4 years, Maxine Waters ran around. I'm impeached. I didn't know what she was saying. I thought she wanted a peach. And I kept asking, why doesn't somebody give this woman a peach? Send her one from Georgia. We've got great peaches here in Georgia. Because I am telling you, folks, you can look it up. Do a DuckDuckGo search, because it's probably taken off all the other search engines. But Maxine Waters ran around for 4 years saying, I'm on peach. I'm on peach President Trump 45 and peace 45. Now, look, I'm going to get all kinds of emails for doing that, but it is the truth. That is what she did, and pretty much what she sounded like. So, but you've got somebody like Maxine Waters who's out there right now, out there just over the weekend, telling this vicious crowd that is known as BLM and Burn, Loot, Murder and the Antifa crowd, telling them if a murder charge doesn't come forth from this case, that they need to continue to burn the town down, that they need to continue to loot. Now, Maxine Waters didn't use those words, but she almost did. Maxine Waters stood there and told these people they need to stay on the street. They need to get more violent. And she said, I cannot remember what word she used, but she was calling for more violence if they don't get a verdict of murder. Now, look, folks, our system of our whole system, our judicial system is based on presumed innocence. Now, I know we have the video, so we know what this cop did. But it is up to the prosecutor. It is up to the prosecution to prove guilt. It is not up to anyone in that court or any of our system to prove innocence. Nowhere in our judicial system do we prove innocence. We have to prove guilt. We have to show the burden of guilt. And if a prosecutor goes in and overcharges, so if you charge this officer with first-degree murder, knowing that the standard of proof for first-degree murder is very hard and requires certain evidence, if you go in there knowing that and you charge and overcharge, then you shouldn't be surprised if you don't get a murder conviction. I'm sure there's going to be some charges brought forth to this guy, but I don't know if there can be a murder conviction based on first-degree murder. First-degree murder, for number one, it requires premeditation. How are you going to prove that that was a premeditated murder? So you have politicians and Democrats out there telling people we must have a murder verdict. They're basically trying to intimidate the jury. The judge of this case came out over the weekend or yesterday and was very saddened and said, you guys are screwing this case up. And folks, you've got to understand, we are not a democracy. We're not a mob rules. Just because the mob is demanding a murder verdict doesn't mean that's what the jury is going to find. And again, it comes down to, did the prosecutor overcharge? And I am going to tell you, look, I'm going to make some of you mad out there. I'm going to make some of you Democrats really mad out there, because I have a theory. I think Maxine Waters knows exactly what she's doing. I think the Democrats know what they're doing. I think the prosecutor in this case knew darn well he was going to overcharge, because the media and some, not all, but a lot of your elected Democrats and many in the media, they want a non-murder conviction. They want this guy to get off without being charged with murder, because they want the cities to burn, and they want this kind of violence going on, because this is the kind of stuff that gets them more power. And if you doubt me, you only need to go study Marxism, go study communism, go study socialism. Go study how these few elitists can rule over so many for so long. Because if you make your populace fight each other and hate each other, then you're going to be up here in your elitist group and you're going to rule over them, because they're going to be too busy fighting themselves. And if you want to revision the way a society should be, then you get the people to burn the existing society down. And then the elitists in power get to pick and choose who gets to go, what gets to be rebuilt, who gets to live where, what business gets to come in. Folks, I am telling you, I am not making any of this up. This has all happened throughout history, and you're seeing it happen now. You're seeing people waiting with bated breath on this verdict. And I am telling you that there are many elected Democrats, and there are many in the media, who want this officer to get off scot-free because they want the cities to burn down. And folks, this is why I ask you all the time, those of you sycophants out there who are married to the letter D, when are you going to wake up? When are you truly, truly going to wake up and stop being abused and used by the Democrat Party and some in the establishment Republican Party? When are you going to stop allowing establishment career politicians to dictate how you act? And folks, I am serious. I know I'm going to make some of you mad out there, especially Democrats. But it's time to ask that question. You cannot doubt what I'm telling you. This is merely observations that I'm making. You look over the past 4 years or even beyond that. Just pay attention and look when these riots are going on and you have these court cases and these prosecutors who overcharge. It is a legitimate question to ask, are they overcharging in hopes that accuser will get off? Or not the accuser, but the defendant will get off, so that they can create more strife. They can create more chaos, because with chaos comes control. And folks, I am telling you, that question needs to be asked. It really does. So that's about all I'm going to say about this whole case. So, folks, we need to understand how our judicial system works. This guy, this officer, he used police brutality, and that's what he should have been accused of. And the courts will do their thing, the jury will do their thing. That is how our system works. But to sit around and overcharge and try to say we're going to burn the cities down if you don't give us the verdict we demand, the verdict that the mob wants, that's not how our system works. And thank God that's not how our system works. So I'm just asking you folks, I ask you all the time, don't make decisions based on emotions. And now I'm asking many of you, and if you're talking to a friend out there, you're talking to a family member or a neighbor, and they're getting fired up about this case, ask them to step back, take the emotions out, ask them to remember how our system works, and then ask the legitimate questions. Point out the things that I'm pointing out to you. Did the prosecutor overcharge? Why did he overcharge if he did overcharge? Why? Why does the media want more chaos in the streets? Why is the media trying to hide what the Antifa and BLM have been doing ever since Biden got elected? I thought when Biden got elected that there would be peace in the land. We were told that Donald Trump was the reason for all the chaos. Well, folks, the chaos has gotten worse, and Donald Trump isn't anywhere to be seen. Donald Trump isn't president. Donald Trump's a private citizen now. And Biden is running around and Kamala's running around. They're running this show. And the violence has gotten worse. Minnesota's been burning. Portland's been burning. You go look for the city and see where it's getting worse. So none of it stopped. You were promised this was going to stop by electing the whitest guy in the land. You were told this was going to stop by electing the oldest, whitest dude that is basically going senile. I mean, I'm sorry, folks, but he's on the decline. But you were told to elect this man Biden, a career politician, a man who's never had a job in his life other than public service. Let's call it what it is. It's government job that gets paid a lot of money to abuse people. I mean, that's basically Biden's done all his career, is be a so-called government representative. And instead of sticking with a guy who knew business, who had this economy firing on all cylinders, we were told, in order to stop the cities from burning, we've got to go hire the whitest, oldest, almost 50-year career politician. Oh, yeah. Boy, how's that working out for us so far, folks? How's it working out for you? Higher gas prices. Folks, I know the media is telling you that inflation isn't out there, but folks, inflation is everywhere. Everywhere. You cannot print trillions of dollars every 2 or 3 months and think that there's not going to be inflation. Folks, it's out there. You see it. Look how much is your grocery bills. Look at them, folks. Pay attention to the prices are going up. That's inflation. All right, folks, don't go anywhere. We will be right back. This is the On Point with Victor show.
The disease of addiction is a life-altering challenge, not just for the person suffering its effects, but also for the family and friends who support and love the one caught in its grasp. What should be the course of treatment? Who is the best person to render treatment? And what is the best place to go for the care that is needed? We know that you want answers to these and many more questions. Call 770-696-9862 and speak to a representative of the Atlanta Healing Center. They can tailor a program specifically designed to address the needs of the person suffering with an addiction, or give you guidance as to where that help may be found. Information is the key, and the trained staff at AHC is here to assist. If you wish, you can also get more information on the website located at www.atlantahealingcenter.com.
In 2009, the membership organization Docs for Patient Care was founded. People all around the country wanted to participate in the efforts of this group, and they wanted to join, but they were unable to do so unless they were physicians. It's for this reason that the Docs for Patient Care Foundation was created. Now, everyone can join the fight and become a member of an organization created by doctors for patients, dedicated to fighting for your healthcare freedom and preserving the doctor-patient relationship. While you're at your computer, please go to www.docs4patientcarefoundation.org. That's www.docs4patientcarefoundation.org and make a tax-deductible donation and join the fight along with us. Thank you.
This is America's Web Radio. Would you like to have a show, talk about your business, or express your opinion on America's Web Radio? Just email gm@americaswebradio.com and we'll get back to you. Thank you.
And we're back. Hey, folks, I want to take a second. If those of you that are watching on the webcams, you can see my shirt. This is the official On Point with Victor shirt. And on the back, it says, "I'm not angry, I'm just right." These shirts are available. So if you, and I know we've talked about this before, but, you know, I'm horrible with paperwork and anything like that. And I'm also horrible with timing. Not on everything, but on some things. But my wonderful, wonderful group, there is a group, I should say, a group of wonderful listeners in Florida, a few of my many awesome listeners in Florida. I mean, folks, we have listeners in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, my goodness, I think Deerfield, Clearwater, Orlando. I'm not even going to say the word that's near the shipping, near the cruise ship place, because I always say it wrong. Orlando, and I mean listeners in Daytona, some of my favorite, but don't tell anybody. But anyway, so I've got these awesome listeners in Florida, this group of listeners, and they're the ones who are making these shirts, folks. They are now available. I really can order them now. So, and this is my fault, folks. This isn't my awesome listeners in Florida's fault. It's my fault. So now we can do it, or now I can do it. So let's do this. So if you want an On Point with Victor shirt, and again, I apologize. I know many of you have asked for them before, but now let's do this. We're going to make it happen. If you want an On Point with Victor shirt, we have small, medium, large. Just tell me what you want, which size you want. Shoot me, look, folks, shoot me an email. Victor@americaswebradio.com. Victor@americaswebradio.com. If you're one of the few that have my cell number, you can send me a text. But tell me what size you want, how many you want, and if you want, I believe we have black and blue. So tell me what color you want. So we'll make it happen for you, and they're not expensive. We're probably $20 a shirt, or maybe just under $20 a shirt. So we'll work that out. Just tell me what you want. So, all right. So, and I appreciate it, folks, because the more you guys wear these shirts around, the more listeners that we get to the On Point with Victor show, and the more listeners, the better. In fact, it was about a week or so ago, somebody notified me that they were mad at me and they weren't listening anymore. So a listener spot opened up. So if you've got a new listener, you've got a friend out there, somebody there's a spot open, so we can take new listeners. So wear your shirt proudly. All right, folks. I want to say I did have someone reach out to me during the break. I don't think it was first, and I wasn't sure. I was just using the first-degree murder charge as an example of overcharging. But it looks like it might be second or degree or third or some other degree that they're charging. But my only point is, look, I tuned out of this case. I tuned out because I got sick of them politicizing everything. All my point in talking about this verdict that's coming out today is that we shouldn't have a mob demanding what the verdict should be. This verdict lies on the jury, and the burden lies on the prosecution. They're the ones that brought the charges. They have to prove the guilt. That's all I'm saying. So whatever verdict comes out, folks, we've got to trust the system. We may not agree with it. Look, I didn't agree when O.J. Simpson walked. And I think 90% of America knew O.J. Simpson shouldn't have walked, but he did. And you know why? Because the prosecution couldn't pass the test in front of the jury, and the jury let the guy go. Now, did they do the right thing? Of course not. But that's the way our system works, folks, and we've got to we have to respect the system. And are there changes or something that can be made? Hey, maybe, but we got to do it the right way. And a mob is not the way to do it. And since I'm talking about the mob and mob rules, folks, let me remind you, we are not a democracy. There is a reason that the word democracy does not appear in the United States Constitution or the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence. The word democracy does not appear one time, not one time. There's a reason for that. The Founding Fathers actually spoke against democracy. Folks, if you want to do some research because you don't believe me, you don't even have to go back and look at our Founding Fathers. Go back to the Romans and the Greeks. The Romans, they're the ones who used a republic. When they had the Roman, the Roman government, they used a form of government like we do, a republic, you could call it a democracy by republic or a representative democracy. How about that? Let's go there. And then you look at the Greeks. The Greeks were full on democracy, full 100% democracy, which, folks, full democracy, straight democracy is mob rules. That's what it is. And that's why the Founding Fathers, who studied history, that is why they were against a democracy and why we have a representative government. We are a representation. We are of the people, by the people, for the people. You can call it a representative democracy. I'm okay with that because all the 50 states we have, they basically have their own little democracies going on. But we're all governed by the federal government. The Constitution is the law of the land. And that Constitution is not a democracy constitution. It is a republic. So I'm okay with saying a republic democracy or a you could even say a Republican democracy, but that'll send Democrats to their cry closet. So, but we are a republic. We are governed by people. Government is limited by that document known as the United States Constitution. So it is a big difference. So we really, and shame on the Republican Party, the establishment Republicans and others who on a daily basis refer to us as a democracy. They need to stop. It is time for the conservatives, the libertarians, the independents, the establishment Republicans. It's time for all of you to stop using the word democracy. If you're going to use the word democracy, then you need to say a representative democracy. You have to use the word representation, representative. We are a republic. And it's about darn time that we take that back and we start telling the truth. Because we give in way too much to the narrative of the left. The left always puts out a narrative, the media backs it up, or the media will march with the narrative and the Democrats back it up. And then the Republicans, the establishment Republicans especially, they will jump right on board and start using the language of the left. And it's about time it stops. It really is, folks. It really is. So all right, I wanted to get that out of the way. So let's go. Let's do a little topic rundown. I want to, we haven't done an On Point with Victor topic rundown in a while. And folks, if you're new to the show, when I do a topic rundown, I'm basically try and hit topics that are going on in the country or in the world, and just boom, bang, bang, and we go through a ton of them and have fun with them. One of them is Guess Who's Back. Guess who's back? And if I had some Earth music to play, I'd play it. But Greta Thunberg is back. I think she's 16 now, and but they brought her back. They've spent the last few years, I'm sure, just indoctrinating the crap out of her and getting her to memorize things and make sure she could read well, because now she's back and she's calling, if you're taking the vaccine, you are a vaccine nationalist. That's what Greta Thunberg is out there saying now. So if you're in the United States, or you're in Great Britain, you're in Europe somewhere, basically if you're in a country that's not dirt third world poor, you're a vaccine nationalist. So God forbid that as a country you take care of your citizens first. Oh, no. According to Greta Thunberg, if you take care of your citizenry first, you're a vaccine nationalist. Go figure that one out. Look, let me keep it real. Every country in this world should be thanking the United States profusely for coming up with 3 vaccines that work. Yes, folks, 3 vaccines that work. I am not anti-vaccine, folks. I'm not going to tell you if I got it or not, because it's none of your business. But I'm not anti-vaccine. I think Donald Trump deserves all the credit in the world, because we wouldn't have 3 vaccines if it weren't for him. Clearing the way. Donald Trump cleared the way and made that happen. In less than a year, we got 3 vaccines, and 3 vaccines that work. And look, I'm sorry, if you're out there believing conspiracy theories that the vaccines are bad and they haven't been tested, folks, you got to stop buying into this stuff. Go look at the numbers. These vaccines, the only way they came out so fast is because they had overwhelming test groups. The reason why vaccines normally take so long is it's very hard to get people to be part of a test group. But when you have a pandemic like we had, and this virus that was scaring the hell out of people, there were tons of people, thousands and thousands and thousands of people who volunteered to take part in the testing. That's why we have these vaccines so fast. And we've got 3 of them, folks, and they do work. They do work. And again, it's your decision to take it. If you're healthy, don't take the vaccine. You probably don't need it. If you're young, you don't need the vaccine. Probably you don't. But if you're scared and you're fearful and you or you have diabetes, or you have some other kind of case, or you have a compromised immune system, take the vaccine. It works. And I know the messaging coming out of the White House is terrible. Folks, the messaging coming out from Biden and the White House and the Democrats are ridiculously, let me back up. It's ridiculously awful. Let me put it that way. You have on the one hand, and King Fauci, he's the problem too. Because you have these Democrats telling you, take the vaccine. They've got Hollywood, take the vaccine. They've got CNN shaming you if you don't take the vaccine. CNN trying to shame Fox News. That is hilarious. The CNN, whose ratings are in the toilet, trying to shame Fox News, whose ratings are off the charts. That's pretty darn funny. But you've got CNN trying to shame Fox News because they're saying, why aren't you doing selfies of you getting the vaccine? Look, folks, I don't care who you are and what you do. It's your business, not anyone else's, if you get the vaccine, just as your medical history is your business and no one else's. But that being said, if you want to get the vaccine, folks, get it. If it'll make you feel better, get it. Because all the data, real data, not computer models, not computer data, real data showing the effectiveness of these vaccines. They are working. Even the J&J vaccine, it's back out today. I think it's back on the market today. I saw an article today that they said it's fine. The vaccine is good. But look, all the data showing these vaccines are working. There's not one case of a vaccinated person going to the hospital with COVID-19. There's not one vaccinated case that I know of someone passing that vaccine to someone else. So the vaccines are working. But that being said, listen to what Biden's telling you. Go back and look at what he was saying before the election and look what he was saying after the election. He's telling you, go get the vaccine, go get the vaccine. But before he was elected, he was telling you, well, I don't trust the vaccine because I don't trust Trump. Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, sat on the debate stage and said, I don't trust Donald Trump. I don't know. I don't think I'll get the vaccine. And then as soon as they're elected, get the vaccine, get the vaccine. You get the vaccine, you put on 2 masks, you sit down and shut up and obey. That's what they were telling you after they got elected. And then as we got further on, get the vaccine, the vaccine's great. They're telling Hollywood, make people get the vaccine, tell people to get the vaccine. And then what did you start to hear? Can we get back to normal if we get the vaccine? Oh, no. You see what happened, folks, is people started getting this vaccine and they started feeling good and they started leaving their homes. And then people in Michigan and New York and California started demanding that their state come out of lockdown. People with the vaccine started demanding that the states open. People wanted their business back. They wanted their lives back. And the Democrats went, holy crap, we're losing our grip of power. We're losing that power that was granted to us by these people because they were fearful. And so then what happened? Well, they told Fauci, and what did he do? Fauci went out there. Well, if you're vaccinated, you gotta wear the mask. You gotta wear the mask. So this is awful messaging, folks. Awful messaging. All right, we got to take another break, folks. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back. This is On Point with Victor, America's Web Radio.
Whether cruising the strip in a 57 Chevy or taking the family on a vacation in a 71 Oldsmobile Vista Cruiser, you need to tune in to Classic Cars with Steve Ronaldo and Jim Weber every Saturday from 8 to 9 a.m. on americaswebradio.com.
If you live to serve and want to make an even bigger difference, consider joining the U.S. Army. With training in fields like medical care, linguistics, and engineering, an Army career can amplify your efforts with humanitarian opportunities all over the world. Plus, you'll receive competitive pay and incredible benefits, so you'll be taken care of, too. Learn more at GoArmy.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, join me, Roger B., every Tuesday at 1400 hours right here on America's Web Radio for the Locked and Loaded Show. We will talk about guns, weapons, ammo, gun accessories, prepping, and so much more. So be sure to join us every Tuesday at 1400 or 2 p.m. for Locked and Loaded on America's Web Radio.
And welcome back, folks. Welcome back. Okay, so I've got an update. So if you do need an extra large or a double extra large, we can make those shirts too. I just got David excited. So yes, if you want an On Point with Victor t-shirt and you want a double large or an extra large, I do have them. So we have small, medium, large, extra large, and double X. So make sure you order yours today. Email me, victor@americaswebradio.com, victor@americaswebradio.com, or if, like I said, if you're fortunate and you've got my cell number, you can text me your order. Okay, folks, let me take a second, too. Over the weekend, I went to, look, folks, I love barbecue. I don't care where I am. I can eat some barbecue, especially Texas barbecue. And I think I'm making David's mouth water now. Because there is no brisket like Texas brisket. But I went to a place over the weekend called Mooney's. Folks, if you're in Georgia and you're near Lake Lanier Islands or want to take a trip to Lake Lanier, look up Mooney's Barbecue. Great place, great staff. The staff was awesome. These were some young guys. I went in there and they started talking politics with me, and they were, I'm talking 16, 18 years old, and they were good conservative, libertarian, independent-minded thinking folks, and it was just great to see the youth that haven't been succumbed or overtaken by the left. It was great. So anyway, great staff at Mooney's, great food. The brisket's good. You ask for the juicy brisket, and they'll cut it special for you. You might as well tell them that that Victor sent you. So, all right, folks, that's Mooney's Barbecue. So look, again, we've got so order your shirts. Victor at americaswebradio.com. We've got small, medium, large, extra large, and double extra large. So get your order in today, so we can make this happen. Oh, and don't forget to send me your address. So when you send your order for the shirt, send me your address. So, all right, let's. So we're going down the topic rundown. I told you about Greta Thunberg. I'm gonna deviate from the topic rundown, and we're gonna go to the phones. I think we got a call from New York. Mark?
That's right.
Hey.
Good afternoon.
You know what? I am so glad you called in today, because maybe let's take a second. And folks, we'll get back to the topic rundown, or I'll do it next week, because this is important. I mentioned the case going on, the verdict that's going to come out today, and there's no better person to talk to and consult than Mark the Shock from New York. So, Mark, what say you? What are you seeing about this case?
Well, I got to tell you, I watched probably 98% of the case. Both sides did a really excellent job. They really did. As you know, in this society, we do not have to prove our innocence.
Exactly.
We are different. You have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, which is a very high standard.
Mm-hmm. And it should
whether
be.
or not somebody is guilty of all the elements of the crime.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he actually was charged originally with second-degree murder and also manslaughter, second-degree manslaughter.
Okay, now, Mark, I'm glad you clarified that, because one of my contentions is if the verdict doesn't come out the way the mob wants, it's going to be because the prosecution, maybe they overcharged. Now, maybe talk a little bit about that. What do you think about the charges?
Well, you have complete morons like Maxine Waters, who I believe you mentioned earlier, coming out and saying if it's not first-degree murder, then it's not a verdict.
Yeah.
And then you have our president, unprecedented, chiming in on a pending case before a jury, saying he's seen the evidence and it's overwhelming. I mean, he's the idiot in chief. He is absolutely off his rocker for stating something like that in the middle of a trial. And in fact, Judge Cahill, who's the judge at the trial in Minnesota, he basically said, all you politicians should just shut up.
He sure
We're
did.
a co-equal branch of government. Let us do our job and don't chime in. But what did they do? 10 minutes after he takes off the gag rule and says, please don't, chime in, what are they doing? The governor chimes in Minnesota. The mayor in Minnesota chimes in. You got Maxine Waters trying to stir it up. If Trump was charged with insurrection for what he did on January 6th, what is Maxine Waters going to be charged with?
Mark, I'm glad you brought that up, because, folks, if you go back and you look at 100% listen to Donald Trump's speech, there was no incitement of a riot. But if you listen to what Maxine Waters said over the weekend to those people, to the mob, she was calling for more violence, Mark. Now,
she said specifically to become more confrontational. That was the words. There's no misunderstanding here.
Yeah.
There's no go to the Capitol and peacefully protest statement. There is become more confrontational in the middle of a city that's boarded up like it was going through a hurricane.
You know what's worse about that, Mark? And ladies and gentlemen, listen to this. Maxine Waters, who's telling people to get more violent, get more confrontational, which means get more violent, burn more things down. And Maxine Waters is calling for the defunding of police. Maxine Waters had police escort when she went and visited Minnesota yesterday.
Yeah, I know.
Police
like I said,
escort.
Like I've said before, you want to lead by example. That's what our government was set up for.
Right.
So take down all the walls at the Capitol, take down the fencing and the razor wire, take down the barbed wire, get rid of the Capitol Police, get rid of the requirement that you have ID to go into the White House and the Capitol, and then I'll understand what you're talking about in Georgia.
Yeah. Well, Mark, it's like I always say, you first. Whenever a politician comes out and said, like, for instance, the reparations. Hey, you first, politician. Show me how much money you've given up already. Show me how much money
how much
you've
has
paid.
Zuckerberg put in? How about Bezos?
Yeah, absolutely.
How about Bill Gates? How much has he put in towards the reparations fund?
How many families have they paid on their own to help? I venture to say zero.
You know, all I have to say on this is Martin Luther King is probably rolling over in his grave right now, because exactly what he had said is judge a man by the character, not by the color of his skin, is exactly what they are trashing now.
Oh,
they are saying, we are different, treat us differently. That's exactly what he fought against.
Oh,
and
100%.
The problem is that these imbeciles who are pushing this credit line here and this whole garbage about treat us separately, they don't understand that when they're not in power, okay, or when someone else uses it against them to either give them a job or not give them a job, is that okay now also? Are we okay with that?
Exactly. Well,
you know, they're giving farmers money based on their race.
Well, who would have thought, Mark, that in 2021 segregation would be back? And not only is segregation back, segregation is cool and being brought forth by the Democrats again. The Democrat Party, who was the party of segregation before, is now bringing it back, and only this time, Mark, the so many of the black people, brown people, yellow people are for it. How messed up is that?
Well, the problem is this: is that there's unintended consequences from intended good.
Yeah. And
there is no good trouble. I'm sorry. I don't agree with that. There's trouble and there's not trouble. There's no good trouble to get into. So when they keep telling you it's good trouble, guess what? When you give people something for free that they didn't earn or deserve, that is worth nothing to them.
Look at public housing.
Exactly.
It's a perfect
How
example.
about public schools? Give it to them for free.
Gosh. You know, I don't even like to use the word public. It's government housing, it's government schools, it's government transportation. That's what it is, and that's what we ought to call it, Mark.
But you know what?
Right.
What gives me the saving grace that I can look back and sleep at night is that idiots come in all colors.
Ain't that the truth?
Idiots come in all races. They come in all creeds. You don't have to be black or white to be an idiot. You could be either.
That's so true.
And the point is that these people are not understanding the general nature of what made America great. What created America was it's everyone pulling in the same direction.
Yeah.
You don't have to hate something in order to change it. You can still love America and want to change it.
Well,
but you know what? Don't tell me you want to change something, defund the police, disband the police, and then call for the police to protect you.
And
I'm
then
sorry.
demand.
That is 100% hypocritical. That's idiotic. That's imbecilic.
She demanded for a police escort.
And don't even get me started on that woman Tlaib.
Yeah, well, that's a whole nother problem there. But
but we allow these people into government, and then we wonder why our government sucks.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Mark,
if you hire imbeciles to be in government, you're going to get an imbecile for government.
Well,
that's
absolutely.
what it's going to be. The title of government is stupid.
And when
who is the guy who said, if government is the answer to the question, it's a stupid question?
That's true. That's brilliant. It's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. And but Mark, we have to stop, and I wish people across the country would just understand. We've got to stop electing people without making sure that they have an understanding of the foundation of this country. This country's great because we're based in equality, not equity. But you've got a party now that is pushing this equity nonsense, and this whole concept of equity comes straight out of Marxism. And anyone who has the guts can just go look at Karl Marx and read Karl Marx, go read all those guys, and you'll see where this equity comes from, and the Democrat Party is doing it as if they're following a Marxist rule book. It's crazy.
Well, they've gone over the wall. Not to use that phrase, but they have gone over the wall.
Well, they may be going over the wall of the Capitol, but they're trying to take down the wall of the border. Yeah.
Well, except if it's at the Capitol, then walls are
exactly. Walls are good to protect the politicians' elite, but not good to protect the country. Yeah, it's crazy. But Mark, let me get back to this case. What do you think? What's your gut feeling? Do you think
I've seen enough of the evidence to understand that there was definitely some intervening cause. However, there is no doubt in my mind that he breached his duty as a police officer. For whatever reason, that guy, Chauvin, Derek Chauvin, he breached his duty. Every officer that I've ever been involved with and everyone that I know are outstanding people. They are the people who would throw down their lives first to save you and your kids and your community. That's why they became cops.
Right.
That's why they represent the best of the best.
Yeah, cops don't become
and that's
cops.
why a lot of them come from the military.
Well, right, and
because they've already laid down their lives once.
Exactly, did it once, and that's what they know how to do. Plus, they've got that inner spirit. They're not becoming cops to get rich. They're becoming cops because they want to help their fellow man.
Yep, and the point is, in this case, there was a point in time when he should have gotten out of that situation. He should listen. Nobody told George Floyd to start fighting with the police. The police didn't say, "Hey, fight with us."
Right.
Okay. So that precipitated a situation. But as an officer, and don't tell me anybody other than training.
Right.
The bottom line is that you're not trained to destroy a person's life.
Absolutely.
Okay? And whatever, I understand what they were doing at that point. They needed to restrain him. A lot of times it's because they don't want him hurting himself. He was smashing his head up against the car. And that's how he got his facial injury at the beginning.
Right.
But the point is that at some point you had to recognize that this guy is in trouble. He's underneath you. I saw a video of him with his knee on his back. I saw a video of him with his knee on his neck area. Even though there were no bruises, no tissue bruises, no hemorrhaging underneath, no broken neck bones, it didn't matter. The guy had precipitating facts that may have led to his death in conjunction with what was doing, Mr. Chauvin.
Right.
Okay? But at some point you had to say, I need to get off this guy. And that's the point, I believe, that's the criminality right there. Not the fact that they put him down, not the fact that he was in the prone position, but there was a point when he was in the prone position when he passed out, that he was unconscious. And that's the point where this should have ended. It should have actually ended when they took him out of the car. They should have sat him up and said, yo, calm down. You need to relax.
Well, I agree, Mark, and that was a point I made. There was a point where fellow officers were asking him to get up, and even paramedics, and he still didn't do it. And I mean, at some point, if a perp is going to jump around and act the fool, you know what? Put him in handcuffs, put him in the back of the car, and let him go nuts. Eventually, he's going to knock himself out or something. So
but you see, they can't do that because when they're in custody, you're in charge of their well-being.
Oh, right. Good point. Good point. They'd probably get sued if he did hurt himself.
That's why they brought him back out, because he was literally injuring himself in the back of the car.
So, see, that's a good point, Mark, because you're right. They would get sued. If they had left him in the car and he hurt himself, he'd be suing him.
Right. But the point was, at some point, every one of those other officers should have recognized this guy's out. Get off him.
Yeah.
And should have said, hey, Derek, let's go. Come on, roll him over.
Yeah.
But they didn't do that. That's believe it or not, and I know this is hard to understand, I'm not as upset as I am at the other three officers as I am with Derek Chauvin. Derek Chauvin was doing something stupid from the beginning.
Right.
The other three officers should have intervened.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
That's the point. The point was you had four guys there, and I understand the whole situation, and I understand the crowd, and I understand all the tensions. But these are trained guys.
Yep.
I know 99% of the guys would have acted differently.
Absolutely.
99.9% of the cops would have acted differently.
Right. Well, Mark,
for whatever reason, that didn't work that day.
That's absolutely right. Well, Mark, we got to leave it there. Thanks so much for calling in, folks. Mark knows what he's talking about because he's been an FOP lawyer for years. So, thank you, Mark.
Have a great week, guys.
Hey, thanks, Mark, and you guys stay tuned for Locked and Loaded with Roger B. He's coming up next. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.